Hey guys, how you doing? I'm here. I'm going to be reading some PJ, and we are going to start off on chapter 9. It looks like this is called I Am Offered a Quest. So we kind of left off with, we find out that Percy Jackson's dad is Poseidon. So we're like, whoo, big news. And then there was also some foreshadowing talking about a quest, and there's no way that Percy or Annabeth or anybody would get offered a quest. Well, now that we found out he's Poseidon, and then the title of the chapter 9 is I Am Offered a Quest. So, I'm going to, you guys know these chapters are kind of long, but I'm going to power through and read most of chapter 9 today, if not all of it. So, we'll see how we go if we get to a stopping point. So, all right, let's go. The next morning, Chiron moved me to cabin 3. So cabin 3 is for Sons of Poseidon, and no one lives there now except now Percy does. So I didn't have to share with anybody. I had plenty of room for all my stuff: the Minotaur's horn, one set of spare clothes, and a toiletry bag. I got to sit at my own dinner table, pick all my own activities, call lights out whenever I felt like it, and not listen to anybody else. And I was absolutely miserable. Not what you would think, right? Just when I'd started to feel accepted, to feel I had a home in cabin 11 and I might be a normal kid, or as normal as you can be when you're a half-blood, I'd been separated out as if I had some rare disease. Nobody mentioned the hellhound, but I got the feeling they were all talking about it behind my back. The attack had scared everybody. It sent 2 messages. 1, that I was the son of the sea god, and 2, monsters would stop at nothing to kill me. They could even invade a camp that had always been considered safe. The other campers steered clear of me as much as possible. Cabin 11 was too nervous to have sword class with me after what I'd done to the Ares folks in the woods, so my lessons with Luke became one-on-one. He pushed me harder than ever and wasn't afraid to bruise me up in the process. "You're going to need all the training you can get," he promised, as we were working with swords and flaming torches. "Now, let's try that viper beheading strike again. 50 more repetitions." Annabeth still taught me Greek in the mornings, but she seemed distracted. Every time I said something, she scowled at me as if I had just poked her between the eyes. After lessons, she would walk away muttering to herself, "Quest Poseidon, dirty rotten, gotta make a plan." Even Clarice kept her distance, though her venomous looks made it clear she wanted to kill me for breaking her magic spear. I wished she would just yell or punch me or something. I'd rather get into fights every day than be ignored. I knew somebody at camp resented me because one night I came into my cabin and found a mortal newspaper dropped inside the doorway. A copy of the New York Daily News, open to the Metro page. The article took me almost an hour to read because the angrier I got, the more the words floated around on the page. "Boy and Mother Still Missing After Freak Car Accident" by Aline Smythe. Sally Jackson and son Percy are still missing 1 week after their mysterious disappearance. The family's badly burned '78 Camaro was discovered last Saturday on a North Long Island road with the roof ripped off and the front axle broken. The car had flipped and skidded for several hundred feet before exploding. Mother and son had gone for a weekend vacation to Montauk, but left hastily under mysterious circumstances. Small traces of blood were found in the car and near the scene of the wreck, but there were no other signs of the missing Jacksons. Residents in the rural area reported seeing nothing unusual around the time of the accident. Mrs. Jackson's husband, Gabe Ugliano, claims that his stepson, Percy Jackson, is a troubled child who has been kicked out of numerous boarding schools and has expressed violent tendencies in the past. Police would not say whether son Percy is a suspect in his mother's disappearance, but they have not ruled out foul play. Below are recent pictures of Sally Jackson and Percy. Police urge anyone with information to call the following toll-free Crime Stoppers hotline. The phone number was circled in black marker. I wadded up the paper and threw it away, then flopped down in my bunk, bed in the middle of my empty cabin. "Lights out," I told myself miserably. That night, I had my worst dream yet. I was running along the beach in a storm. This time, there was a city behind me, not New York. The sprawl was different. Buildings spread farther apart, palm trees and low hills in the distance. About 100 yards down the surf, 2 men were fighting. They looked like TV wrestlers, muscular with beards and long hair. Both were flowing Greek tunics, one trimmed in blue, the other in green. They grappled with each other, wrestled, kicked, and headbutted, and every time they connected, lightning flashed. The sky grew darker and the wind rose. I had to stop them. I didn't know why, but the harder I ran, the more the wind blew me back until I was running in place, my heels digging uselessly in the sand. Over the roar of the storm, I could hear the blue-robed one yelling at the green-robed one. "Give it back! Give it back!" Like a kindergartner fighting over a toy. The waves got bigger, crashing into the beach, spraying me with salt. I yelled, "Stop it! Stop fighting!" The ground shook. Laughter came from somewhere under the earth, in a voice so deep and evil it turned my blood to ice. "Come down, little hero," the voice crooned. "Come down." The sand split beneath me, opening up a crevice straight down to the center of the earth. My feet slipped and darkness swallowed me. I woke up, sure I was falling. I was still in bed in cabin 3. My body told me it was morning, but it was dark outside, and thunder rolled across the hills. A storm was brewing. I hadn't dreamed that. I heard a clopping sound at the door, a hoof knocking on the threshold. "Come in?" Grover trotted inside, looking worried. "Mr. D wants to see you." "Why?" "He wants to kill. I'd better let him tell you." Nervously, I got dressed and followed, sure that I was in huge trouble. For days, I had been half expecting a summons to the big house. Now that I was declared a son of Poseidon, one of the big 3 gods, who weren't supposed to have kids, I figured it was a crime for me just to be alive. The other gods had probably been debating the best way to punish me for existing, and now Mr. D was ready to deliver the verdict. Over Long Island Sound, the sky looked like ink soup coming to a boil. A hazy curtain of rain was coming in our direction. I asked Grover if we needed an umbrella. "No, it never rains here unless we want it to." I pointed at the storm. "Well then, what the heck is that?" He glanced uneasily at the sky. "It'll pass around us. Bad weather always does." I realized he was right. In the week I had been here, it had never been overcast. The few rain clouds I had seen skidded right around the edges of the valley. But this storm, this one was huge. At the volleyball pit, the kids from Apollo's cabins were playing a morning game against the Satyrs. Dionysus twins were walking around in the strawberry fields, making the plants grow. Everybody was going about their normal business, but they looked tense. They kept their eyes on the storm. Grover and I walked up to the front porch of the big house. Dionysus sat at the pinochle table in his tiger-striped Hawaiian shirt with his Diet Coke, just as he had on my first day. Chiron sat across the table in his fake wheelchair. They were playing against invisible opponents, 2 sets of cards hovering in the air. "Well, well," Mr. D said without looking up. "Our little celebrity." I waited. "Come closer," Mr. D said. "And don't expect me to kowtow to you, mortal, just because of old Barnacle Beard is your father." A net of lightning flashed across the clouds. Thunder shook the windows of the house. "Blah, blah, blah," Dionysus said. Chiron feigned interest in his pinochle cards. Grover cowered by the railing, his hooves clopping back and forth. "If I had my way," Dionysus said, "I would cause your molecules to erupt in flames. We'd sweep up the ashes and be done with a lot of trouble. But Chiron seems to feel this would be against my mission at this cursed camp, to keep you little brats safe from harm." "Spontaneous combustion is a form of harm, Mr. D," Chiron put in. "Nonsense. Boy wouldn't feel a thing. Nevertheless, I've agreed to restrain myself. I'm thinking of turning you into a dolphin instead, sending you back to your father." "Mr. D," Chiron warned. "Oh, all right. There's one more option, but it's deadly foolishness." Dionysus rose, and the invisible player's cards dropped to the table. "I'm off to Olympus for the emergency meeting. If the boy is still here when I get back, I will turn him into an Atlantic bottlenose. Do you understand? And Percy Jackson, if you're at all smart, you'll see that there's a much more sensible choice than what Chiron feels you must do." Dionysus picked up a playing card, twisted it, and it became a plastic rectangle. A credit card? No, a security pass. He snapped his fingers. The air seemed to fold and bend around him. He became a hologram, then a wind, and then he was gone, leaving only the smell of fresh pressed grapes lingering behind. Chiron smiled at me, but he looked tired and strained. "Sit, Percy, please. And Grover." We did. Chiron laid his cards on the table, a winning hand he hadn't gotten to use. "Tell me, Percy, what did you make of the hellhound?" Just hearing the name made me shudder. Chiron probably wanted me to say, "Heck, it was nothing. I eat hellhounds for breakfast." But I didn't feel like lying. "It scared me. If you hadn't shot it, I'd be dead." "You will meet worse, Percy. far worse before you're done.